name's Fluffy to the Story, and welcome to my channel. The Day 1 patch. Isn't it wonderful? You just spend $60 and BAM! Day 1 patch. Yeah. So, Skyrim, Evolve, Far Cry, Dying Light, Crysis 2, and, well, the list can go on, but you get the picture. Hell, even consoles are worse these days. Like, only in 2014, there's about 70 titles that had a Day 1 patch. It's optional, but if you're willing to play a buggy game, go ahead. Some are just unplayable sometimes. I mean, this begs a question about the Day 1 patch. The famous Day 1 patch. Why does it exist? Well, like, why am I talking about it? Well, it's really annoying, and sometimes, because of the price of the ISP, it's like it's not free. I mean, or is it free? I mean, are you willing to pay the extra charges? Because I'm sorry, but in the US and in Canada, bandwidth, the data that you download or upload, but in this case download, it's not free. In my personal case, I've got unlimited bandwidth from an ISP's point of view. That means that I can download the whole internet in a month, and I'm not going to have any extra charges. I've seen some insane charges as $5 for 1 gigabyte. That's a lot for absolutely nothing, or it could be seen as nothing. It really depends. It's also possible that developers or publishers wants to release the title ASAP, like really fast, because of financial reasons. I mean, they have to pay their investors ASAP anyways, because they got the money from someone. It's not free. Or it's from their capital, and it's really not free, and they want it back really fast. So they're either willing to cut the quality and piss off a couple of fans so they can pay their investors, or they grab the cash because they're really greedy motherfuckers. Yeah, whatever. It's also possible that developers are lazy. I mean, but are they? I mean, the devs are paid by the gaming companies. I don't know one gaming company that wants lazy developers. Like, in return, it's possible that there could be a lack of organization, since the more devs work on a project, the more complex it is to manage. But that goes for anything. Like, the bigger crew you have, the bigger chance of getting problems. It's bigger, really big. Does it really justify the $60 you pay for the game? Just think about it. You spend $60, you boot it up, and bam, full of problems. I mean, of course not. Like, in best case scenarios, the frame rate slows down. You see bugs in here, here and there. Heads cut off, or just doesn't exist, or some graphical glitch here and there, but you can play the game, you can complete it, doesn't seem to be a problem. Worst case scenario, the game crashes, frame rate just goes really down below 10, or it freezes the whole game, or hell, it just doesn't start. I've seen everything, trust me. And then again, I mean, this can be subjective in a way, because certain people, like me, if I get below, let's say below 45 of FPS, I'm going to dump the game. I'm going to try to lower the graphics, but if I'm not supposed to do that, then I'm going to get pissed off. I get pissed off really easily in performance in my game. I don't want it to crash. I mean, you play the game, just picture this, okay? You play the game, and for some insane reason, you didn't think about saving the game because you're really into it. You're really into it. You're immersed in the game. And then all of a sudden, bam, the game crashes. You'd be pretty fucking pissed. Some are pissed by less, you know. But you also got the testers, or the beta testers, or the bug hunters, or the devs themselves, the one that codes the game. Are they lazy? Are they tired? Lack of knowledge? Lack of skills? Or maybe everything together? Like, after 12 or 10 hours of coding, I can really imagine that would be the case. Or is it because the manager sucks because he can't do his fucking job and he's still there? You know he can't do the fucking job. But he's there because, I don't know, he's pleasing someone. Really possible. Or for some bureau crazy reasons, he's still there. He still have a job, you know. Could be possible. But in their defense for developers, is it possible to catch all the bugs or all the problems in a game? Is it possible? I mean, you got to code your game, so you got to figure out what type of language you're going to work with, and then you got to make sure it works with every hardware out there. Think about it. Do you know how many types and models of graphic cards is there? How many types and models of CPU? Do you know what the limitation you can do with those? It's like really insane. Maybe you're going to code a game for, I don't know, like the GTX 600 series. Maybe it works fine. But with the 500, it doesn't. Or maybe you have to do more code. Like 1 week worth of coding just for the GTX 500. Because you know, because of a survey you did or you got from XYZ company, that there's 30% of the graphic cards out there on the market are GTX 500 series, or people still have them. You got to think about those. This is a market that you have to use. You got to get those guys, so you got to make sure your game works. Is it possible to release a game with that specific code? Maybe it's not possible. It takes a lot of time. Maybe someone put the paper on their desk and said, hey, I just got a survey. There's 30% of our customers are using GTX 500. We didn't think about that first. Fuck. An hour worth of work. Day one patch is gonna happen. Sorry. It's not the developer's fault, you know. That could be the reason. That there's a lot of graphic cards, CPUs, and hardware out there. I really have to give 1 point to the console. You got one type of hardware. Developers have to work with that. They already know how to work with it. Especially if a company already worked with it. They know how to work with it. It's right there. They know the limitations. If a new graphic card comes out, a whole set of new code could mean disaster. Sometimes you just got to figure out a way to bypass it, and that could be 1 day or 2 day worth of work, like more. So day one patch will happen. It's possible. Is it also possible to get the same results in a small controlled environment? What if your customers, like your customer base is, I don't know, 5 million, or like, let's say 1 million or 5 million. But that's not your environment for testers. It's probably, I don't know, 110 computers. You want to test it on X number of different hardware. You might not get the same results as if you get out the game out there, like in public. It's not surprising that the developers are missing those bugs because of that. I mean, I can think of an example. I don't have the right article to test it, to link it, but in the game called EVE Online, it's an online game which happens in space. It's sci-fi, it's spaceships, so you got lasers, guns, missiles, and all. But in the coding, I remember at one time, I can't remember the specifics, but they were trying. There was a problem if too much people were using missiles. Like the problem didn't happen with a small group of people using ships that were using missiles, but if too much people were around, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 people in the same solar system using missiles, the server would just crash. And I remember sometimes that the servers would just like slow down, and I would feel it, and I wasn't, like, I was far away from that solar system. But the server being one server, like the game was on one server, it really did show. So did they catch that bug first? No, they didn't. They fixed it, but it was something they didn't think about. It was the way the missile systems work inside the game. So they had to, well, they had to get a solution. They got the solution. I can't remember what they did exactly. I think they got the calculations from the number of missiles, and before it was they calculated the missiles as one missile, one algorithm or something. I can't remember exactly, but it didn't work well before. But now it works. It's really I mean, it works fine. Like when I pay $60 for my game, what if I got my data cap from my ISP to the limit? So, cause my wife downloads porn, you know, it's not me here. Do I have to pay the extra $10 that my ISP will charge me because I go over my data limit, my cap limit? Should I take the bill of my ISP and bill it to Ubisoft or EA or any other gaming company? Because in order to run the game correctly, I have to download that patch. And some of them are just like fucking crazy. Like some of them are like 20 gigs. Well, some others are just less than that, like 1 gig or 2 gigs or a couple of hundred megs. But it's still a lot. It's like day one patch shouldn't happen in the first place. It's just me, man. I really think it should really stop. They should really take the time. I'm willing, just like Rockstar, for example, to wait a couple of months more. Listen, if your game took like a couple of years, take a month or 2 or 3 extra to make sure that your game runs fine. I don't want a day one patch. Hell, I don't want no patch. I want the fucking game. I want to install this thing, play it, and that's it. I don't want to mess with patches. I hate it. I really hate it. And what's more, and I'm going to go further than that. People that have servers, they got software to run the servers for the games. Those guys, a lot of times, if you got a game that runs on a server and your game can connect to a server, that server has to be updated sometimes. I personally think it's hell. It's possible, it's manageable. All you got to do is go to the gaming site and just download the patch. You go to your server, then you just run it, you install it, you do the work, a couple of management things. Then you rerun you restart the server or reboot it, then, well, your game server client, and there it is. But it's still something that I'm not supposed to do, because if you did your job in the first place, I should not be able to do the day one patch download. I should not be able to. This should not exist. And for the last, 10, 15 years, it's more of a problem nowadays. It's a plague. Well, anyways, what do you guys think about that? So, subscribe, rate, and comment. Just, if you want to leave a comment, make sure it's constructive. Just don't be a dick. See you later.